Anybody here can get it. Treat the game like a scrimmage now. Master B with the flow. I swear nigga got no limits now. I've been ballin' for a minute. Whole team full of winners. Anybody here can get it. Get tuned into the realest now. Anybody here can get it. Treat the game like a scrimmage now. Master B with the flow. I swear nigga got no limits now. I've been ballin' for a minute. Whole team full of winners. Anybody here can get it.
Right, welcome everyone to Off the Platform. This is episode 3. I'm joined as always, a few couple of names, new names on the crew today. So we've got Hamish and Jackson Hinch, Geordie Shields, and Josh Bleakley. Hey guys, how you going?
Good.
Good.
Sweet. So guys, the podcast today we're gonna introduce Geordie because he's a big name in the powerlifting world and here in New Zealand. Then we're going to move on to Josh. Geordie's shaking his head, but yeah, it's true. Then we'll move on to Josh, and then we'll do a brief recap of the GPC Nats that was held last weekend at the Devonport Navy Base here in Auckland, New Zealand. So before we get started, guys, you got any questions? You want to shout any shout-outs? Jackson?
I think Geordie's got a bit of show and tell for us, just to prove how much of a big name in powerlifting he is.
Honestly, after I watched the first episode, I saw Hamish's office, and he just conveniently got this enormous picture in the backdrop.
I didn't even know it was there.
Come on. He took a few slides. But I didn't want to be outdone at this one, so I brought a few of my own little...
Oh, look at the size of those, eh? Yeah. You can't tell which is bigger, the metal or the guns.
Definitely the guns.
So, Geordie, mate, you've been around powerlifting for a while, eh? So can you take us back, mate? Take us back to the distant past.
Yeah, well, not too distant because I've been training for 30 years, but my powerlifting life really started in 2012. So, I can remember joining a local gym up here on the coast, in the Hibiscus Coast. It's called Coast Barbell. And it was run by Rach and Damo, who were a local couple that were very passionate about powerlifting at the time. And I've always trained low rep range as a bodybuilder. So 2 to 6 reps was my favourite rep range. And to be honest with you, it wasn't until I started training at the gym that I realised I was strong. And I knew I was strong, but realistically, I can remember I got invited to a deadlift comp that Damo was putting on, and I rocked in and I'd done more than 260 in training before, and I pulled I was starting for a bodybuilding show, and basically I pulled a 272.5 kilo deadlift at 109 kilos.
Nice.
And had no idea about powerlifting at that point. And then I won that comp and got a bit of recognition online because it just happened to be a record for GPC. And then it kind of got me hooked. So I can remember.
I think it must have been non-GPC. It must have been before that.
Capo, yeah?
Yeah. It wasn't quite Capo. No, it was Coast Barbell. And because Capo came about as a result of that. So Rach was still competing IPF at the time. And
yes, I'm sorry.
I had no ambition to compete IPF. I respect them as a federation in terms of what they've achieved and what they are at the moment, but it was never my ambition to. And it kind of just evolved that, Damo had this idea, and I pulled some funds together so that we could buy the first plates, and that's how Capo was born. And the inaugural Capo event, I can remember quite clearly. It was my first total, which I think was 640 kilos. And I did a 240 kilo squat. And I remember squatting that day, and it was the first time I had more than 210 kilos on my back. And I got a clean lift at 240.
And how tall are you again, Geordie? About 6'4"?
Yeah, 6'3", yeah.
6'3", so it's a long way to go down.
That's a long way down, man.
Yeah.
Before powerlifting, I was 6'4". I just became hooked in it. We decided we were going to start a federation, and that was just about lifting, a little bit more hardcore, a little bit more edgier than what IPF probably were at the time. And my lifts escalated. Off the back of that 3 lift, the deadlift I originally did, I got invited to FitX, which was the Melbourne Fitness Expo prior to it becoming the Arnold Classic. And and that was the first event I pulled 300 kilos at. It's the first time I ever deadlifted with a Texas bar, so it was at a bar with a nice amount of whip, and I'd gone there to do 300 and pulled it on my second one. It was so easy to lift with that bar. Just felt really comfortable in your hands. The kneeling was really tight, you know, you'd feel the meat digging into the steel. And
there were some quite big names at that meet, wasn't there?
Well, there were. I mean, I met Sebastian. Yeah, you know, I've met so many good Australian lifters, and that was my
that
first.
wasn't the one with.
You're thinking of GPA Worlds 2014.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That was a mammoth event. So the FitX event was really my first international, and then I gradually worked my way through to get this invite to go to GPA Worlds basically in 2014, and to give you an idea of how that actually felt, because it was an amazing event. You couldn't. I've not seen a list of athletes on a card like that one ever. And I was day 2. I was doing basically a push pull. To be fair, my squat has been quite average in comp because I always tend to injure myself. It's very difficult for a praying mantis to bend over that far. So I trained my legs like a demon, but I just couldn't make it work without injuring myself. And so anyway, that particular event, it was like, you know, if you turned up to a Rolling Stones concert and Mick Jagger pulls you up and says, "Hey man, have a jam on the drums with us." That's kind of how I felt, because I got called into a flight with Andrei Milanichev. Mikhail was there, Konstantin Konstantinov. Crikey, their names are hard, eh? And
they are when you got to say them out loud.
and the real
shout out to Andre's listening.
The real humbling thing is that you're warming up in the warm-up room and you're quietly shitting yourself, because all these guys like to own the bar they warm up on. Like KK warmed up on his own bar. No one touched it. No one got near it, because he spent like 2 hours prior to it making sure that Wayne Howlett had the right bar for him and it was cooked the right way. No one else was allowed to touch it. And it was me and one other Australian guy. And I can remember sitting there. I was going to pull my first 310. And Kirill Sarachev was standing off to the side, just casually doing triples at 350 kilos. And you're like really landing the giants. And I'm not a small guy, man, but I just felt you couldn't have picked a better day of lifting, and it was probably the most memorable one that I had. So it was massive. I think I benched 210 and I deadlifted 310.
What were those Russians like? Did they welcome you into the family, or?
They don't really. I mean, they chit chat, but I don't know that English is a very strong language for them. No. But one thing about being in that experience itself, because really that was my second year of competition, I learned a lot. You know, if you're a young lifter or you're starting out in the sport of powerlifting and you get an opportunity to lift, and you can sit backstage and watch the caliber of lifters, even, you know, the great lifters we've got in New Zealand at the moment, and you're not paying attention. If all you're there to do is to eat your lollies and sit back and kind of, you know, high five each other in the background, you're not paying attention. There's some real gems that you'll pick up along the way. And being able to see some of these guys, you know, like they were just the rock stars. You know, the Russians, that's all they do. It's a national sport for them over there. They're treated differently. Their competitions have rock bands and, you know, fire, and it's just amazing. And just to see how they go about their prep and set up on the bar just did so much.
Did it change the way you approach competitions, or the way you warmed up in the training room, or even your training style at all?
Definitely to quite a large degree. And even my coaching, like when I sit with people, I've got a good read of, you know, here's a body type that's a little bit longer in the leg here and shorter in the body. And, you know, that guy's lucky he's got tiny arms, you know, short arms, because he's going to bench really good as well. And so you kind of seeing these guys that basically train at the top end, and they're really investing some time into researching how they actually do it was really good. You know, like I see a lot of the things that, you know, that I'm probably more critical of, and a lot of inexperienced coaches, they're maxing their lifters all the time. Maxing. And being someone, I was over 40, you know, my body recovered a lot slower. But in that 12 months of period of doing that actual lift, I'd done 4 strength events and 3 bodybuilding shows.
You're flipping in
so,
between bodybuilding and powerlifting, like
Yeah.
same season, not even A and B, you know, which kind of been good for the joints and that.
Nah, no, it wasn't. And it was good fun. You know, I like to train hard, and you put 20 kilos on, you flip 20 kilos back off, and you know, like it was really drama. I remember I was 1 week out from actually from that event, I think, and I pulled a 290 kilo deadlift and an exhibition lift in Matter, and I weighed in at something ridiculous, like sorry, it was a bodybuilding show. I was 108 kilos, and I pulled a 290. And my sponsor standing off to the side of his carrier is like, George, I didn't quite catch all of that. Can you do it again? I was like, man. But yeah, like that event was in particular a favorite, and it's the meaty. That's the biggest medal I've got, probably.
It's a meaty medal.
Damn, look at the size of the
That's thick, eh? Double C. It's a double C thick.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible, and but you know, like that show, and I would have to say the Arnold Classic the following year in March 2015, that would equally be as cool a competition when you're standing in front of, like, I think it was 1,000 people that were watching that event, and you're pulling your deadlift, the biggest deadlift of your life, and and you hit it, and then so I got one of those, which is an Arnold medal, and I haven't got it with me at the moment, but there's an inaugural Arnold Classic Australia medal that we all got given from Tony Doherty, and you know, I was quite privileged to get invited to that, because that invite came from Tony and it came from Wayne Howlett, and you know, just it meant a lot to be able to go over there, and it was just a fluke, to be honest, that I won it with an 800 total. So
nice. So you've got a bit of history with the Fed States, obviously not with IPF, but you were involved in the setup with Capo and subsequently GPC, eh?
Yeah, loose timeline, and if anyone calls me the grandfather of powerlifting again, I'll just mute them. So.
You rather on the podcast, mate, just saying.
We started Capo, and there was a bit of noise about whether or not New Zealand could actually field a second federation in New Zealand, and I've come from quite an extensive business background as well, and I just saw an opportunity. I knew there was a lot of strong bodybuilders in New Zealand. There were guys that were like, you know, they got beached to 40 and training during a bodybuilding session that you'd never heard of. You walk into any gym, any back road gym in Auckland, and there's bound to be some kind of freaky powerhouse, and it's got a ridiculous deadlift or a ridiculous bench press. And so when we started Capo, there was kind of like that particular federation. We had the GPA affiliation for Capo and WPO prior to Australia, and in those days it was treated as like another state of Australia. So my official title was state representative, and I was quite happy to follow the Australian sort of model, because we didn't have anything to start with, you know what I mean? So and then I've always got a soft spot for Capo. It's kind of, for me, it was the first federation outside of IPF to really provide a platform for lifters to travel internationally and represent New Zealand. And because there's a lot more like geographical economy and powerlifting outside of just GPA or just GPC. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different federations, and some of them have some really cool channels that sort of move you into the Olympia contest in Las Vegas, and you can do an equip bench and stuff like that. You know, there's been some really cool opportunities arise from these new federations that have come in. So Capo went for a time, and then you know, without cutting too much bullshit out of it, but there was bullshit, and you know, people had their own agendas or whatever it is. I've never been one to hide away from the controversy, but it's a tough job running a federation, and after a point you feel invested and you feel really, you know, personal about that, and for, you know, for whatever reason it split, and I was gutted. You know, one thing that I've always been an advocate for in powerlifting, and I know Hamish would back that up, is I've always talked about unity in powerlifting. You know, and I've seen unity events come up. There's been the New Zealand Open, and I'm quite excited by that. You know, I was a little critical at first about, you know, any one federation saying that they could provide a records table that was unified, because the rule books are not the same. The lifting because it's not the same, and the judging very differently isn't the same between federations. But yeah, it split, and it became it was Capo, and then it became Capo and GPC. Everyone freaked out again. Everyone, from the IPF camp was like, oh man, you can't have 3 federations. The whole thing's broken now. And but GPC was different. GPC was different right from the start. I can remember the phone call and the messages I got from Scott Wasson in Australia with Dan Holliday. They were there at the beginning with Hamish and myself, and there was talk about whether or not I'd be interested in being the president of GPC, and it just wasn't. I just wanted to lift. I'd had enough. I'd given a good period of time to getting Cup off the ground and securing weights and funding various things so that we could get another federation off the ground. But all I really wanted to do at that point was just lift for myself. And I had a few personal things going on in the background, so it made sense for me to step away. So it was, I like to think that, Hamish got the presidency because I was really quite, driven to say, hey, look, this guy's got a really, really good bodybuilding profile. I've seen him lift a couple of times. He could probably do a few good things. And
I'd only lifted one competition at that stage.
Yeah. And I knew that was a good move for GPC because of the theme or the background behind it. That's the reason why we did it. We wanted a feel-good opportunity for the federation and somewhere where everyone would feel accepted, a little less edgy. And that's what we did. And, I supported Hamish right the way through that. I was the initial technical director for GPC. I did the conversion of the rule book to accommodate a monolift. It was the first rule book in New Zealand for an accommodated monolift in it. And then of course the other half of what was left, Daniel Rudolph created IPL. IPL was the other affiliation that was up for at the time. It's got again, that's a federation with another channel that goes into some really cool premium events. So here we are, now today, and we've got some choices in New Zealand that were never there before.
And of course, we've got a WP breakaway from IPF as well.
Yes, now we've got 4. There wasn't room for 2, now there's 4.
Yeah. What's the cross sort of federation rules for them? Do they set barriers for their athletes to compete across federation? Or?
No, WP don't.
Their president was one of the refs, Steve Lausich. He's a good guy. He actually Lusich, sorry, Steve. He refed down at Open.
Open last year. Yeah.
So I mean that speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And they had quite a few people do it as well.
Yeah,
quite a few lifters. They don't have the same restrictions as IPF for competing on events outside of their own fed.
Yeah, I always felt like there was a barrier of IPF that I couldn't buy into. I really wanted people to feel comfortable lifting in whatever they wanted to wear.
Yeah.
As long as they had the right safety equipment.
Yep.
And the other thing was is cross federation relationships were really struggling. Like Dan Holliday, for example, was a very good friend of mine. And Dan and I, and Hamish remember the battles with Dan as well, all of us on the platform at the same time. But Dan had qualified for Oceanias, and I turned up to support him. I sat in the front because they wouldn't even let me in the warm-up room to see him or have a chat to him. And a week beforehand, we'd done this sort of demonstration lift at Matamata and at Evolution Gym in Matamata, and he was getting phone calls and texts on the way down, so we should be hanging out with those guys. But man, we learned so much from each other. What a tragedy if you're in the IPF and you feel like you cannot associate outside of that federation because out of fear of being sanctioned in some way. It's just ridiculous. If I guarantee if I was a lifter in Christ, I got an opportunity to train in the same gym as Jackson, I would do a lot. And if I was hungry and I was a young lifter, Jackson's the guy I'd want to follow because he's at the moment he's the top dog, So.
We actually last episode when we had Amy on, it's interesting down in Christchurch. It's not quite the same as it seems to be everywhere else. We've got lifters from, IPL doesn't really have a presence down here, but we've got lifters from GPC, IPF, and WP all train in the same gym.
Yeah.
And there's no reason you can't.
Right.
It's just lifting weights.
Mm.
You're just trying to squat as much as within your rule set. It doesn't really matter.
Josh, you've got Josh. What's the mix in your gym, mate?
Like, we got everything, man. We're a strength and conditioning gym for athletes. So our biggest thing is comes here to get stronger. So we got IPF guys and GPC guys. We got WP. It doesn't matter who you're training for. We're a gym, right? Like, you can't say that a Snap Fitness is affiliated to GPC because it's Snap Fitness, but they got IPF and every other powerlifter in there as well. Like, we are an athlete equipped training facility. We train athletes.
Yep.
Our biggest thing is growth, get stronger, get faster, get fitter, for your sport, regardless of what sport it is or what federation. I mean, that's what our gym's all built around. So, but we're a mix as well. There's no bias in it. It's just, we just want to train athletes and get strong.
Isn't that great from an evolution standpoint, that where we were 6 years ago, there was this feeling of tension, obviously, because I couldn't understand why we were seeing that resistance from IPF in particular. And it was never out there in front. It was always these little things that were said in the back rooms or whatever, or an offhand comment.
Oh no, there was some public statements as well, and some quite public kind of movements. For example, you not being allowed to go into the back rooms and stuff. That's gone away. I feel to a degree. It's just in the back rooms, which is the last place. Hopefully, it stays.
Yeah, Jackson, you've helped out. You've got some IPF athletes under your tutelage, Jackson?
Not so much at the moment.
You've helped out at IPF comps, haven't you?
But yeah, when we had Canterbury's down here, I just went in the back and helped the boys that all trained at Body Core. I'll go and load the bars. I don't care. I'll load a bar for someone that's squatting their first 180. I remember what that was like. Me and Jamie's. Jamie's spot loaded at regionals for them. They call it provincials, but provincials for them before.
Yeah.
There's no reason you can't. It's all just lifting. It's powerlifting.
Exactly, yeah. I think we had some spot loaders from the IPF
on the weekend. Yeah.
On the weekend, didn't we, Josh? A couple of your boys, eh? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the thing is, powerlifting is a very different sport to other sports. My background, I strength condition athletes, national, world, Olympic level athletes for so many different sports, right? And almost every sport, someone always has to win. You know what I mean? So if it's a fight, you always have one person you want to fight, win over the other person. If it's a football match, a hockey match, doesn't matter what the sport is. But in powerlifting, if someone hits a personal record, that's a win, regardless if they win a medal or not, right? So that's the thing I love about powerlifting is someone could have 40 kgs on the bar, and that could be a massive feat for them. And everyone sees them struggling on to lift it, and then everyone gets up on their feet, starts cheering, and acting as if it was a world record attempt. You know what I mean? So that's the thing about powerlifting I love. It doesn't matter. It's just about getting stronger and achieving these sort of things. And that's sort of why I love the sport. It's just it's different.
It's one of those things. Yeah, everyone can get stronger. It doesn't matter who or what you are. You can always get better day to day, which is the cool part.
Yeah.
So George's powerlifting lifting has taken its toll on you over the years, eh? You want to?
maybe not Geordie now. Maybe Geordie can't get stronger now.
Yeah, you want to take any injuries of note?
Well, everyone knows the injury of injuries. It's I've had I've had so many injuries. I tore my 6 centimeter hole, my vastus medialis, in my opening lift of Carpo Nationals one year, and I ripped it on the way up, believe it or not, which is very difficult to do. So the rip was on the inside of the muscle, and I remember stepping off the platform. I managed to get 3 white lights, which is amazing.
Nice.
And I promptly took 2 tramadol and went out the back and waited for it to kick in, and I broke the bench record. I think it was 212.5 kilos, and then I pulled a 75 kilo deadlift because I wanted to go to the Worlds. So.
Nice. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So that was probably my first experience of injury. But the most notable one would have to be I've damaged my rotator cuff on the left hand side. I've done that 3 times now. The last time I was trying to bench 5 at the Arnold Classic. So that was the 3rd time, and I just worked my way through rehabbing that. Had my first ever cortisone injection, and I was training for the IPL World Champs. It's going to be my retirement event. I had a bilateral quadriceps tear.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And even if you weren't in powerlifting or bodybuilding up here on the coast, everyone knew about it. Even if you weren't in a gym, there's some poor bugger up at Snap Fitness who was squatting in the rack on 6:30 the other night, pulled both his knees off and all the quads. So literally snapped them off the bone. And every time I tell someone, even if I tell someone from medical profession, say, look, I had a bilateral quadriceps tear, and they say, oh yeah, what exactly is that? And I say, well, okay, well, imagine, that tendon that holds your knee together above your knee, snapping in half.
On both knees.
On both knees at the same time. Yeah, under a quarter of a ton. So, so I was squatting 250. And it was a weight that I'd done triples for a fortnight before, and very comfortably done a triple on, and I was just doing some, believe it or not, pull squats with the 250 kilo weight on it. And as soon as I launched off the bottom, my knees basically just left my body. I had my wraps on, and it was like a crack. It was like, and it was at the same time, and the whole gym basically had me crash down, and my training part, like I popped out the front of the bar like a piece of toast, and managed to roll. I badly sprained my ankle. My knees came off. As soon as my wraps were taken off my legs, the knees basically crawled down my leg, and then the muscle started pulling itself up to my hip. It looks like a big ski slope basically. And
did you have a training partner with you during that set?
Yeah, he's a real bastard. Like
shout out to Wes.
Did he?
Yeah, I was going to say, did he put more weight on the bar?
Did he put another plate on each side?
No, I've got to give him credit. Because he didn't know what happened. He thought I'd dumped the bar. And then when I was lying on the ground saying that, I was screaming to pull my wraps off because my knees were obviously sore. But he got his phone out and filmed it.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
He said, I just knew, Geordie, that one day you'd want to look back on it and probably have something to show for it. That's brilliant.
Yeah, there's photos of you getting loaded into the ambulance, like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, on the gurney. Like
last thing you wanted to do.
Yeah, when you leave everything in the gym on leg day, that was that photo.
Yeah, that's a meme.
But yeah, surprisingly, I dealt with the pain probably better than most people, and I remember the paramedics trying to figure out how to get me out of the rack because my legs were basically like a fish, so there's nothing there. And Wes handed me the phone. And I said, look, I'll call my wife and just let her know. We're going to the hospital, and it was just quite casual. Everyone's freaking out, and I was like, no, I better call her because she'll worry. And I was like, I'm just letting you know, I'm going to the hospital. I've had an injury on my legs, and I'll probably have to get them sorted out. And she said, what, Wes has had an injury? And I said, no, I have. I've got to go in the ambulance now, but he's going to come pick you up, so you don't worry. And I gassed like 4 bottles of Antinox on the way to the emergency department. And by the time I got there, I was cracking jokes with people, and I was probably in shock. But yeah, I'm very, very fortunate. Like I've seen athletes do exactly the same thing, same injury, and take a lot longer than it took for me. So I was, adamant that I wasn't going to go home in a wheelchair. So after 3 days after my surgery, I insisted on having a walking frame, and then I got crutches like 8 or 9 days after that. And then I basically told them I was going home once they could, verify that I wasn't going to get into any trouble myself. And I can remember the physio, actually the look on my surgeon's face when I walked into his office 3 months later and I was walking normally, that just like was priceless. He was like, "Man, I don't know how you did it." He says, if you, shout out to Spiros at the moment, Marcos's brother in Australia. He's been in a wheelchair for like over a year, man. It's got to be tough, and it's every bilateral quad tear is different. I had some really good people out there that reached out to me. Nate Williams. Like he'd only just gone through his rehabs, side of things, and he's made a tremendous sort of him reaching out and just talking to me about psychologically what he'd gone through. But, I can remember being in my hospital bed the day after the surgery, and I would have my laptop and I was just researching rehab. And that's all I wanted to do, was just to walk again, just to be able to play a soccer with my son. And 3 months later, I walked. And that's it.
She was wondering who was talking, sorry. Go to mum.
6
So, yeah.
member.
So how does it affect you now? I mean, have you got it back under the bar since then?
Yeah, I have, I'll be honest with you, I've got PTSD from it. I can squat, like, you know, I could do like 20 reps at 120 kilos, but if I put 140 on there, my brain won't do one. I can't release it, the hip and the knee at the same time to get my brain to function like that. So the interesting thing though, you know, is if I weigh up, you know, the journey that I've been on with it, and you know, I've never been a strong squatter. When I was at the GPA Worlds, I remember vividly walking down the hook corridor, and Ed Cohen shuts out to me and waves me over. He says, "You're a deadlifter, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, I've got a good deadlift." And he says, "Yeah, I just get bench too, and you've actually got a good bench too." He says, "How do you squat? It must be a real drama." And I said, "Yeah, actually, you could describe it like that." And then 4 years later, I tear my legs off. So, but yeah, I can still train. I'm still as ruthless as I am. My clients, that when they do a session with me, whether it's a blast session or a powerlifting fatigue session, because I'm training athletes at the moment, that they're going to find that extra ground. You know what I mean? If you're paying for a personal trainer or a coach and they're not pushing you when you need to be pushed, then if you're at my gym and you do a session with me or one of my trainers and they're not pushing you like that, then you're in the wrong place. So, and they need to find a place, you know. So you pay good money for good advice and good training, because you should be able to find that. And I've always been ruthless with myself, and I've got plenty of photos of Wes crying on the floor halfway through my leg sessions, which were my sort of marquee sessions. That hasn't changed. I think the hunger for the training hasn't changed. I had an issue with my heart 12 weeks ago because I was overtraining. I nearly had a training-induced heart attack probably. So I spent 2 days in hospital getting that fixed. Twice a day training, 100%, 110%.
So I think all the listeners are probably thinking, no, I'm not going to train hard. No, I'm not going to squat anymore after hearing that. Yeah.
Everyone's going to become push-pull warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone lowered their squat. Dale Shepherd messaged me, he said, a week later, he said, "Man, I've got a competition in 2 weeks." And he says, "I went light after seeing your photos."
Yep.
And it was tough.
I mean, I could tell you from personal experience, every time I squat and there's a niggle in the knee, no longer do I think, don't worry about it.
Should be right.
She'll be right. No longer do I think that. I always think it could happen. You know, because before you, Geordie, it didn't happen. Well, as far as I was aware, it didn't happen, or it happened to somebody so far away, but then it happened to you, which is really close to home. And I think a lot of people were like, "Wow, this is really
probably the biggest challenge of them all." Like when you look at an injury like that, it's career ending, you know. But when you look at it, you know, the biggest challenge of it has been around the whole mindset. Because I've gone from like competing at that level, you know, like I train ruthlessly. I train, you know, 6-7 days a week, whatever. And as well as everything else you've got on your plate, you know, like you've got a business, or you've got children, all of these things that, you know, you need to push to the side when you're prepping and you're dialing in for that one competition. And when it's at that international level, there's no second place. You're training to go and give it your best PB, but you're not going there just to, you know, fuck spiders. You're there to do the job properly, you know. So
I thought you might use that Marcos saying there.
It's a New Zealand saying, mate. Don't give them that.
Is it a New Zealand saying?
It's a New Zealand saying, Greg. They can't have that. This is like Pavlova and fucking number 8 wire and far lap.
Yeah.
You know, fucking spiders. That's
fucking spiders. Okay. Bloody Marcos, eh? Shout out to Marcos. Yeah.
But the mental game is big, and when you get that taken away and you can't train the way you want to train, it's tough. You know, and that's probably been the biggest thing to get used to. The fact is that I'm actually retired. I'm actually comfortable with it now. I'm happy about it. You know, I can look back on what I did in a really short space of time. Like people that have been in powerlifting for a lot longer. I believe if I'd carried on, if I'd been uninjured and I carried on, I would have got my 350 deadlift. I'm not sure about it. My goal was to get a 300 squat, just to say that I'd done it. And I, you know, my both shoulders now, so many injuries that I'm not sure that like a 500-pound bench is there. It was definitely there when I was in my 20s, but as you say, a little bit of injury. Every time I've blown my shoulder out, I've felt like I've lost maybe anywhere from 5 to 10% of my top line strength at a peak. And I've had the last injury that I had after the Arnold's was bursitis, bicep tendonitis, and subscapularis tear. So it was just a nightmare in there.
So where does this end for you, Geordie? Is this? Are you gonna? Did you ever entertain? Hey, perhaps this is me done. I'm not going to go back and train hard again. I'm just going to go and go through the motions 3-4 times a week. Because I know you only train in one gear, right?
Yeah.
You were saying when we caught up at Nationals, you're going to put on another 10 kilos of mass. And, and there's only one way that happens: a very, very hard training. So.
I take a leaf out of Dale's book, Dale Shepherd.
Don't take a leaf out of Dale's book. That's the worst book.
But when you've got this many injuries, you kind of have to, But there's a little bit inside that I.
Well, I'm saying you don't have to. You've achieved so much, and
exactly.
What makes you? I'm not saying I'm going to be any different to you. I'm just interested to know why. Why are you still hungry?
It's lifestyle, man. 30 years of being in the gym. I can remember my first gym membership, and I've been in bodybuilding for so long. Like, I've done a lot of shows, and you just get caught up in it. I never wanted to be that fat dad that turns up to the hot balls and gets in, and everyone's
hey.
Like, look at that.
Greg's like, hey,
hang on now.
You're talking about me.
No, and I don't mean to disrespect people with a dad bod, you know what I mean? But I always, I grew up, when I can remember growing up in my earliest days, my brother Drew was a bodybuilder. He trained at a gym called Top Shape in Henderson, and he was the one that really inspired me to take up the gym. And back then we used to watch Conan the Barbarian once a week at least, So I just grew up in it. The toys I played with, He-Man, Master of the Universe, everything had like bulky muscles on it. So it was just like something that evolved in my brain. And I've had a lot of problems, you could call them, and around how big I look in the mirror. So at the moment, at 119 kilos, I put 4 kilos on in 2 weeks, Hamish. So I'm really there. But at my biggest was before I opened a can of worms in my opinion on weight cuts, but I weighed in for the Arnold Classic at 131 kilos, and the next day after I'd eaten 12,000 calories and chocolate milk, Lucozade and hash browns, I came in at, I think it was 142 kilos.
Shit.
And then I went to Dubai, and I can remember walking past Eddie Hall with Eddie Hall had this whole table in the Burger King that was just loaded with, must have been $200 or $300 for the burgers, and thinking that, man, I'm still small.
Dude, honestly, that guy is ridiculous. I met him.
Really nice guy to talk to. Yeah.
I met him in the UK at one of the fitness expos when he was at his biggest. In the same year, he pulled that 500.
Yeah.
And he was 200 kilos at like your height. And he was just like it's hard to explain. You know how most people are like wide and they turn side on and they're sort of thick. He was like the same. He was like a cube with a head on top. Like a kid had made a bad snowman.
You could almost feel the gravity around people that big. Like, I told you about the FedEx event I went over, and I was one of the bigger guys in that event. And then I went to see the strongmen training and warming up, and Nick Best came over and put his arm around me and said, hi. And I just looked at him, man, holy moly, these guys are enormous, And, but yeah, my biggest, I was 141, I believe I waved in on the day after that. So I went to Dubai, and I was the guy at the water park and took my shirt off, and it's just it's just unbelievable the way people react to you when you're that big. But it was definitely too big, like I'd go for a walk and had to sit down for 15 minutes after 15 minutes of walk, so it was just crazy.
So what's next for Geordie? What's the next box you want to tick? You got a gym, you're coaching, you've got a business.
I've got a gym. I'm coaching. I've got 2 businesses. One of the things I think that I internalize, and I talk about mindset with a lot of my athletes about what troubles them and how they can use training or use that, as a way to sort of purge, because you need some intensity at the bar. So I'd always bring that. If I was really pissed about something, I was going to deadlift, I'd bring it to the platform. I wasn't, that was my bar. It was my piece of concrete for that 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was just going to blast everything that basically fucked me off in my life in that 2 minutes. That's what I was doing. And that's how I train too. I just purge it. And when my legs came off, I kind of said to my wife when I sat down, and I just said to her, I said, man, how much could I achieve in my business career, if I actually applied myself in the same way for 5 years? What could we do? And it's been 3 years, and we own Top Shape Gym. There's a story behind that, which I'll say for another podcast maybe, as to why I call my gym Top Shape. I haven't done the brand. I haven't changed the brand over. I've basically got it ready for a rebrand. It's called Fitter, Faster, Stronger up here in Whangaparua. And we own Frontline Retail Recruitment. We just recently bought that. And, I'm a retail specialist. I've been in retail for 30 years, been in the gym industry for just a little bit less than that. And I guess I've kind of stepped away from the sport temporarily, because I knew that I would potentially want to be involved at some level. So I agreed to come on board as a trustee for GPC. I've got a really great relationship with Dan Rudolph, and I've got a lot of respect for him. I like his competitions, quite edgy. They're a little bit different to obviously what we see with IPF or GPC, and it's definitely got its place in the ecology of powerlifting in New Zealand. So if I sit in the periphery a little bit, it's probably a way for me to keep my brain engaged in it. But I mean, there's always that hunger in the background. You always see an opportunity, and my reference to Dale earlier on was more about the 140 kilo class, Master 2 records, almost. But they weren't, you know what I mean? Like, I've had my deadlift up to 250 for a double, so you just kind of, I've just got to be mindful of the fact that I get that quite lift like that, and then I think I'll just put 10 kilos on next to weapons, and I'll smash it. And then where does it end up? Where do you stop?
Yeah,
and
it's always the question.
And I'll just be doing 300, or I'll be doing, I think if I was to come back to the platform at some point, just for shits and giggles, it'll be a bench comp.
Yes.
And the whole bench wars concept was something Hamish and I really came up with, because we knew there's a lot of strong benches out there in gyms, and we saw that as a market, that we'd want to bring into GPC, and so I do enjoy a good bench comp. It's good fun.
100%. All right, I'm just conscious of time. Let's move on.
I think that was longer than mine.
I don't think so.
That was definitely longer than my
you
intro.
reckon?
It was 45 minutes at best.
Yeah, I was 43.
Oh, 43. Yeah.
Jackson did that on purpose. We've probably got an extra episode there.
I was going to say, mate, I could keep going. There's always more.
There's more. Jackson's always got more to say. Yeah, it should be a two-parter here.
Always.
But without further ado, let's move on to you, Josh. You're at the I want to say the other end of the spectrum in terms of career-wise. You're just sort of starting out, but that's not quite true, is it? You've been doing this powerlifting thing, athlete thing, competing thing for quite a while now, eh?
Yeah, man. I mean, my business alone, not including my years of coaching, but Action 3 be coming up at its 8-year anniversary soon, so 8-year birthday.
Wow.
So
that's a long time for a gym, man.
8 years.
Yeah.
So 2013, Action 3 was born, and that's kind of when our powerlifting side of things actually started. But I've always been an athlete my whole life, so I've been about various sports. I was freestyle BMX when I was younger. I was always playing hockey. I play like Premier level hockey. When I realized that, when I looked at the pathway to where they could take me, I didn't really see that as an option for me anymore. So then I started looking at other things. But I was always coaching. I was coaching since I was like 13, and did really well with coaching. And then I decided to sort of continue pursuing coaching after college. Then I got straight into personal training and strength conditioning athletes, and then over time I started just falling in love with lifting heavy, getting stronger, and then I was just pretty much a personal trainer, training athletes. And then when my athletes started getting stronger and I started getting stronger, we started doing better in our sports. And then pretty much when all my athletes, because I used to rent space in the training facility, and we wanted the music loud and we wanted to lift heavy and, like hype each other up and that sort of thing, just, and the rest of the crowd wasn't really, they were more just regular gym goers, wanted to lose some weight here and there and tone up and, we're slamming weights around. So that's when I sort of decided to go and do my own thing. And then when I started doing that, that's sort of when we really started we found powerlifting. And then originally it was just me, myself. This is probably 2013. It was me and two other boys, Cameron and Liam. We're like the Auckland 3's first, I guess, powerlifters. And back then we were sort of more towards IPF because we didn't know anything about GPC. We didn't know anything else. Like that's all we knew. And then we were sort of competing, just lifting, getting stronger. And then everything kind of just started growing from there. And then I started, I got to start training national athletes, world athletes. A lot of our athletes went to worlds and started winning. I got to start coaching some called Olympic athletes, like Special Olympics, Winter Olympics, all individual athletes. And I started finding myself, I was coaching a lot of athletes where they weren't the mainstream sports. You know what I mean? Like, anything from arm wrestling through to football, hockey, like martial arts. It just sort of that sort of became our bread and butter. Just all these individual athletes that weren't mainstream. And then because of it, powerlifting, bench, the squat, the deadlift, they're like foundational movements. They're fundamentals for everything. So as we got stronger in those movements, we started getting better at other sports, and then it just grew from there. We started building this little culture. I moved I was contracting to like a physio, moved from there to my own little gym, and then that just kind of got bigger, and then we got bigger and found another facility, and then now we've moved into a new facility again. But we were like, although we've been powerlifting for quite a while, we only really found GPC probably I think it was 2 years ago. One of my coaches, he was a GPC. He actually competed in GPC, Michael, and then he was one of our powerlifting coaches at the time. And then that's how we started, figuring out that there was more than one federation, and we sort of actually started deciding that we actually wanted to build a club, and then we built our own powerlifting club, and things just started going from there. So now we actually got quite a strong little club where we've been hosting events. But because we were heavily involved with the IPF comps, and we were competing with them, we decided to start running our own little powerlifting events. So we were running like little gym meets, and our first gym meet I think was 2015, and it was just like a charity event. It's called the Big Lift. It was like a charity event for prostate cancer and that sort of thing. And but we also found that was a great way to sort of introduce people into powerlifting. And then the Big Lift turned to our event called Proving Grounds, and then that's how we got involved with Nick from back then it was Valhalla, and then that's how we sort of met. We got more involved with GPC, and then sort of everything sort of tied in from there. So it was kind of just our love for lifting that kind of and running these events that actually got people wanting to compete, and how they actually went from doing our gym meet and then going into a federation, and then we just got stronger and stronger as our the more we trained together, and became like a little little wolf pit, like iron sharpening iron. Everyone was like, I'll do 5 reps, and then someone does 6 reps at the same weight, and I look at them and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna do 7, and then increase the weights and just keep feeding off each other and keep increasing the weights. And that's kind of how it all sort of came to, really. And now we have and we've got like a bunch of other clubs. So we do jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, boxing, powerlifting as well. These are actually clubs we have within our facility, as well as strength conditioning athletes from all sports as well.
What's the what's the plan? What's the 5-year plan? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Right. Well, first of all, I want the biggest powerlifting club in New Zealand. So that's the big one. I love powerlifting. I've always loved it. I always loved the fact of just getting stronger. You know what I mean? When I was powerlifting, I kind of had a bit of an injury. So I blew my. I was getting ready to sort of step on the platform, and I felt invincible. I was feeling really strong, and I was feeling the best I've ever had. I squatted 190 for a double I was only 75 kgs, which wasn't that much, but back then it was kind of, pretty respectable in my little community. And then the same day I went to a trampoline park and I blew my back out. So I had two herniated discs, one anterior bulge, one posterior, and so that was at me for quite a while. Saw specialists, saw physios, and that was pretty much me for a long time. They told me I should do Pilates. I told them that I can't really compete in Pilates. So
I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
So and then I got into martial arts and I started, finding out that I was actually pretty good at fighting. So whilst I was rehabbing my back and trying to actually be able to step under a bar and hold a weight, I just got really good at fighting and went to worlds and started competing at a world level for fighting in Taekwondo. And then, but recently, my back has actually been amazing. So next year is my first time to be back on the platform for powerlifting.
Awesome.
Cool. That's good times.
Yeah, it's been kind of like a roller coaster journey. I mean, I've been coaching powerlifters for quite a while now. Last 7 years of powerlifting, but I haven't myself really been able to actually compete for quite a while. So I'm excited to get back on the platform.
Awesome. And so you've got into running events. You ran the GPC Nationals last weekend at the Devonport Navy base. Yeah, that's
crazy.
Pretty crazy. Yeah, you want to take us through that? Obviously, we were all there, but let's hear it from you, from your point of view as well.
Yeah, you obviously contacted me about running the Auckland Regional, and then we jumped on that, ran the Auckland Regional, and that turned out to be awesome fun. And then the Nationals, we decided to reach into our contact list and see if we could do something a bit different. I was in the middle of moving a facility, and my facility wasn't going to be big enough, and this was sort of during COVID time, so we didn't really know what was available. But then one of our contacts messaged us and said that the Navy base would be available. So obviously we did the Navy base, and that came with a lot of its own challenges. Things that normally when you have an event, you sort of pick a venue, you rent the venue, and then you just go and do your competition. With the obviously Navy base, you got security issues and regulations requirements. So that came with a lot of its own challenges, which is which was new. But so pretty much the whole experience was amazing. Especially with COVID, we weren't really sure of how many athletes were going to be able to compete. But I think we had it was the biggest GPC national attendance regarding athletes. Is that right?
80 something, I think. 80,
right.
85?
It was 85 on the original list. Yeah, a few people dropped out towards the end there. So I think on the day there were 74. 74. Yeah, so I'm not too sure how that ranks, but obviously, it was a solid 2 days. Yeah. Solid 2 days, and then, look, it's been a shit year. It's been a shit year for powerlifters. Yeah. And I really feel for the ones over in the UK at the moment, in Australia. Australia opening back up soon, aren't they? But the UK going back into another lockdown. So
I think Aussie are opening in a week. Gyms are opening next Sunday.
Victoria Row. Yeah.
And then the UK is just going back into lockdown from Thursday.
Yeah, another month.
So it was a huge advantage for those lifters who happen to have monoliths and gym plates and bars in their garage, Jackson?
Yeah.
Excuse me, mate. There was no monolift in our garage.
Even a rack,
It was a power rack and our bars.
Been a couple of bands.
Prepared, mate. Oh, yeah, I'm prepared for anything. I'm going to lift till the day I'm fucking carking it, probably.
I think there's probably a ton of powerlifters that are thinking, next time this happens, I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to get my own gear. Sales of gear is going to probably go through the roof.
It did anyway. I think the industry's doing quite
well.
Couldn't
get anything, yeah.
Yeah, Hamish couldn't buy anything.
No, I did. I bought it from the warehouse group from Torpedo 7, and they said, no worries, we're going to deliver. Public statement, we're going to stay open through COVID. And then, of course, Jacinda was like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
And so my equipment got lost in transit, and I didn't end up getting anything. So I just took that time to do lots of walking, lose a bit of weight, get a bit healthier. So
what happened?
It was odd time for us because we obviously had a gym.
Yeah,
Geordie
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I can remember the first week of lockdown, just okay, this is going to be all right because I've got my mental fix. But it's different. You buy a gym to put people in it. I mean, there's not people in it. It's not the same.
Nah.
So I need to be careful what I say, but I pretty much just did cardio most days.
Yeah.
But,
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah.
Just something. You needed to get that mental.
Yeah, exactly.
Just output.
So Josh, your 2 days, we had the age classes and single lifters on the Saturday, and then the open class on the Sunday. Yeah, so I know you're probably rushing around getting everything organised, so guys, jump in. Any notable lifts? I can think of many. Obviously, a big win there by in the men's class by Ben Cray with the 972 title.
Sunday,
yeah.
I reckon it was just awesome seeing so many new faces and competing. I mean, there's a whole bunch of new people rising to take on national, number one titles and that sort of thing. A lot of new records being broken. So it was pretty awesome to seeing an amount of support from all the new faces as well. I mean, obviously there's a lot of there's experienced GPC athletes there. But yeah, I mean, it was a wicked experience, eh?
Yeah, a lot of people, that was their first big event, if that makes sense. They'd lifted in their own gyms before in front of their own crowd, done a novice comp here and there or whatever, or done regionals, but it's all it's at your gym in front of your crowd. So that was the first sort of experience, especially a lot of our guys from down here. That's the first experience that I've had of being in front of people that don't know, and warming up with people that don't know, and having refs they don't know, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's always a nice experiance to get that.
Jackson, how many came up? How many came up from down there?
So between myself and Chris, you guys all pretty much know Chris, the tall ginger Jack dude. I think we had 17 lifters between me and him.
Nice.
Across both days.
That's really great.
So it was good. It was good, man. I mean, and then we brought a big support crew up. So I think there was probably 30, 35 of us there on the day, which was good. Because then when I was lifting, a lot of the other guys and girls could help my clients or whatever when I was preoccupied.
And we had a young Christchurch lad, Tyrone, take out the junior men.
Yes, sir. That guy is jacked. Just to put it out there, he's enormous. At 20, I mean, he just turned 23, so he's still got
23. Yeah,
he's still got almost 2 years in the juniors. Or 2 nationals.
Came in at 99 kilos. So just
he might not be bigger than you were at that age, Jackson, but he's definitely better looking. So
wow. Okay. All right. What about when you were that age?
Yeah. Not even close, mate. He's way better looking than I was.
Better looking.
Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, we actually we went out to dinner to the Burgers place on Saturday night.
Yeah.
And, I got there a little bit before these guys, and I'm sitting there waiting for my dinner to come out with a crew of about 20. It was the Masters ladies.
And Mad Mike.
And Mad Mike and all his crew. And I'm sitting there. Sorry if you're one of the ladies there, but as soon as Jackson and the boys come around the corner, they're like, they're turning up, and then Tyrone comes around the corner, and you should have heard the comments, ooh, he's coming here, yeah. I get to sit by him. It was disgusting.
Yeah, I want to sit beside him. I want to sit beside him. I think as we walked in, you get that classic, even it's usually the guys though. We got this, I think I said him, we got these guys, and me and Chris and Tyrone walked around the corner, and you get these guys, and you see one of the guys' eyes fucking wide as, you see him hit his mate, and his mate sort of pops his head around the corner, and they're like, look at those guys.
And you get the double take.
You get the double take. They're not sure what they're seeing. It's hilarious, man.
You thought you'd do this for the girls, but the girls don't give a fuck.
Oh, no. It's always the guys. It's always the guys. For the guy fans.
So Tyrone with the got 290 squats, 170 bench, and what did he get?
285. He took a bash at 300. Didn't get it. It's a long day, especially when you're lifting those sorts of weights. And he did a pretty decent water cut as well. I think we took him from 107 down to 99 and back up.
Nice.
Pretty comfortably, to be fair. He didn't find it too hard, which was nice. So when you do them properly, they work really well. Because, they're all basically PBs for him. But he's going to do the push-pull and take another bash at 180, 300, which is some nice milestones.
Yep.
It was actually your record, wasn't it, that he took the
squat? Yeah, the squat. And then...
Really, it's only 5 kilos or so off the other couple, wasn't it? Oh, not the dead, obviously, but
not the dead, not quite the benches. The bench had a 182.5.
Oh yeah.
But he'll take them next year. And then I did 775, so he'll get that next year as well, quite easily.
Yeah, he's definitely the up and comer of the year.
Yeah. I mean, he's still got so much growing to do, man. He's just, and he's training around us all the time, which he did used to train at just a snap, where he was like the big fish, obviously. And then he really obviously came to body core, and that's when he's really taken off. So it just shows that your environment does make a big difference. For sure,
Yeah, he rise to the occasion. Those lifting heavy around you tend to lift you up. That's what happened to you, Geordie. When you saw me lifting at Coast Barbell, you definitely lift some proof.
It was like, I never want to look like that guy.
Dad bod. You genuinely had a dad bod back then too. You were about 130 kilos or so.
I was about the notorious Hamburger photo away. I think I'm probably one of the oldest people in the sport that can remember when Greg was actually lifting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, they had cameras back then, I think.
Oh, forget it. Yeah, no, it was parchment.
Yeah, back then there was a bit of banter in the gym too around equiplifting because Greg had just popped off. I think the second best Wilkes recorded bench press.
265 at 119 or something, wasn't it?
What was your bench, Greg?
Bench was 252.5 with the IPF, and that was enough to secure the wins back then. Because I was up against Jason Cunningham Gerbich. I don't know if you guys remember that name, but he was having to push like 270 because of Wilkes to compete. So it was always neck and neck between the two of us. And then I hit a 260. It was a 260 for in one of the Capo comps. I've lost track of what year that was, but 260. And I got 270 in training, just missed a 280, and that's when the whole thing came crashing down for me. And I moved into bodybuilding for a while. That's another story.
Lost about 30 kilos, right?
You lost 39 kilos.
Wow.
In fact, I've got 40. Yeah, I've got Geordie to thank for that. So I went from 120 odd down to low 80s or mid 80s. So yeah.
Yeah, we're going to pop his face and his body on the marketing shortly for Top Shots.
We'll have to. I'll insert some images.
Before and after.
Some pictures.
Yeah. It's quite impressive, actually. To be fair, he did a great job.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know if you guys. I know Hamish, you've done it. Now, Jackson, you've talked about it. Going for a cut one day.
I do like a little cut after most comps. Me and Hamish talked about this a bit. Like, as you go into your phases of training, obviously I don't want to sit at 125 forever, man. It's life shit. I can't do it my shoelaces,
That's why we're gentles.
Yes, everything slip on, man. Everything slip on. My laces are fake, or I just don't do it my chucks.
Or you get your missus to do it for you. Is that
But yes, I always do a wee bit of a cut. And get sort of back down to, I mean, my best lifting is 120 to 125. So I'll always sort of cut back down to, just between 115 and 120, get a bit leaner, give room to grow as I get into the heavier weights next time. I mean, the one time I didn't cut, then the next comp I came in at 132, and we all know how that worked out. I was just a ball.
Yeah, got to watch those cuts, mate. Yeah.
No, I'm pretty keen to do a bodybuilding show at some stage, definitely.
So let's talk about Ben's lifting. Let's
go back to nationals. Sorry, we got a bit.
That's all right. We could bounce around a bit. So 390 squat. He opened on 390, didn't he?
And he opened on 382.5.
382.5. He took a
fell over.
Yeah.
Good catch by those spotters. That was solid.
Brilliant.
They were pretty quick. They were pretty quick.
So Jackson, we haven't obviously got Ben on the line, but take us. I mean, have you ever stumbled in a lift? What does it do? What does it do for your psyche once you've opened and
squats?
And missed it.
I don't think I've ever taken a massive stumble on squats. I've dived forward into the rack a couple of times, but yeah, I've never stumbled like that on squats. So I don't know. It's one of those things. You just hope like hell someone's there to catch you,
Full credit to Ben. He stayed with the bar. I mean, that's the worst thing.
Yeah, that's the key, is to stay with the bar. You see a lot of people when they dump it, but you always tell people to stay with the bar, but you never know what they're going to do unless they until they're in that situation. I've missed some squats and quite happily had the spotters pull me out, stick with it, because I've had people dump the bar on me while I'm spotting them, and it's you can't. What do you do? You're going to get injured. You're in a horrendous position to catch.
Yeah, exactly. So so finished on a 390 squat, 230 bench. They look pretty clean. Jackson, you got a 230 bench as well, eh? So
yeah, that 230. I actually tore my pec on the way down.
Ooh. No, 235, wasn't it?
No, I tore it on the way down on the 230.
Oh, and you went up.
And then I went up. I came off and I didn't really tell anyone, and I was sort of like, oh.
If you don't tell anyone, it didn't happen, eh?
Yeah, well, that was the thing. I didn't really tell anyone, and then I also didn't want to let Ben and stuff know, because then they'd just be like, "Sweet, okay, well he's out." You know what I mean? So I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll go 235. She'll be fine." And I come off and I'm like, massage my pec, and Chris is like, "You all good?" I was like, "Nah, I tore it on the way down and then still pressed it."
That was pretty speedy as well. So
I was actually slow. When I watched the video, I'm like, because I remember thinking, I was like, "Okay, I got it out." Start, yep, sweet, coming down. It was about halfway down. I felt it go boop, 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 and I was like, oh. And I'm sitting on my chest, and I remember thinking, oh, fuck, what do I do? And Hamish was like, press, and I was like, oh, okay. And I sort of just slowly pushed it. I was real tentative. Usually I would just ham into it, like when I benched in the gym, it was way faster. Because I was actually toying with potentially going for 240. But then when I did that, I sort of slowly pressed it. I was like, oh. And then I just heard a rack, and I was like, "Oh, I'm there, sweet, okay."
Nice.
And then, as soon as I got to the 235,
you bailed on the way down, didn't you?
Yeah, as soon as I got with sort of about half the way down, I just said nah and just dropped it. Because if I kept trying to resist it, I would have just torn it more. So
you would have made it worse. Yeah, how's it now?
Bit of nice colouring, not too bad. It was pretty. I think it seems to be quite deep intramuscular, so the bruising's taken a while to come out. But I'm getting more range of motion back in it, so I'll probably start back in a couple of weeks, just doing the bar and 40 and get some blood in there, and
get some movement. Eh?
It definitely wasn't tendon or anything, so that's a bonus. But yeah.
So you're about 30 kilos behind going, 40 kilos behind going into the
37 and a half.
37.
37.5. So he opened on 330.
Yeah.
I bumped my opener up to 367 and a half. Obviously missed it on my first, got it on my second, but he'd already got 352. So I just said on deadlifts, I just let Jamie do my attempts. I just say, just chuck on the bar what I need to win. Yeah. I'm not going to solidify second place. I don't really care. That's not, like Geordie was saying, that's not what you're there for. No one goes for second. So I'm used to trying to pull for the win. So I said to Jamie, just chuck whatever on the bar I need, and I just bugger off and go outside. And he said, right, there's going to be 390 on there. I said, sweet, all good, let's have a bash.
Have a go, yeah. So Ben finishes on 352.5, and you smash out 367.5, eh?
Yeah, got it on the second. And then I think he missed his third, so he kept it at 390. So got just above my knees, but
two 900 kilo totals. Which
950 plus.
972.5 for Ben, 950 for you, Jackson. I know you wanted more on the day, but still well done, mate. That's really impressive.
I was a bit off the ball. I was spread a bit thin. You can't really make excuses. It is what it is. You got to deal with the situation as it is. But 950. But I cut my third squat. I knew it as soon as I came up. And you come off looking stoked, just in case. You don't come off shaking your head, even though you've stuffed it. You come off looking stoked, just in the hope that you're going to get a white, and then you see two reds, and I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
So that 390 attempt was that within the realms of where you felt like you could go? After your first deadlift, I can remember myself thinking, shit, if I missed the first one, it kind of psychologically, and you've used a lot of energy, haven't you?
So in the lead up, I tripled 350, and I doubled 365.
Wow.
So I mean, in the lead up, my thoughts, and when I was, before the weekend, I was thinking, best part of 400. But by the time I got there, after the day before and the night's sleep beforehand and et cetera, I wasn't really feeling it. But you have a bash. So it is what it is. There's always another comp.
And then
That's impressive.
Yeah, no, definitely. Notable mention to Pete Dolan, So came in at 87.5 body weight and squatted 320.
320 on broken toes.
And broken toes.
That's disgusting.
I know.
And it wasn't just one of those excuses. He posted the X-ray and they were smashed. So
I had a yarn to him after those squats. So he actually opened on that 320. And then I think he jumped to 340 because he was aiming to go for 355 or something. And he got reds on his depth.
No, stumbled.
Sorry. So he stumbled, and then
I actually thought he tried to rack it before the rack call or something like that.
And so then he said, he wasn't interested in going for a third after that because it felt much harder than it had in the gym.
Yeah.
So he was like, nah. Just left it, saved the gas for bench and deadlifts, which worked out well for him because he won the under 90s class. It was quite a competitive class as well, actually, which was fun.
Yeah, it's quite stacked though. Yeah.
There was actually another mention from that class. One of my guys, Jeremy McElroy, benched right to the comp with that 295.
Yeah, he
opened at 270, didn't he?
Yeah,
I gave him a red on that because I think he might have hitched it at some stage on the way up, and then he jumped up to 295. I was like, "There's no fucking way."
Yeah, but he got there.
He got there. It took about 20 seconds.
That was a very long red. I think he timed out.
742.5 kilo total. Yeah, bloody amazing. Yeah.
And then he had to bash at 300, but that was never going to happen after that.
Yeah.
So again, for the push pull, I'm not going to let him load 295. He's going 300.
If he'd gone straight to it, he may have got it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So he's gonna have a bash at that 180, 300 milestone as well at under 90, which is massive.
Yeah, it's good to see that depth in that class. It's usually only had sort of one guy,
Yeah, I mean, those. I mean, they could both go. I mean, they'll both go over 800 next year.
Yeah.
Jeremy, they're both just on the up and up. And they both don't do massive cuts for it either. They're both pretty close, so that leaves a lot of room to grow again.
Stay in there. Yeah. Well, Pete's never probably going to go too far past it because he's
I mean, you can't at
5'3".
Yeah, you can't be too heavy.
Yeah.
I was just looking when we had a look at the rankings. I mean, on the open day, there was 4 classes. Under 60 women's, under 82.5 women's, under 90 men, and under 125 men that were all decided on the third deadlift.
Wow.
Because they were all within X amount of each other, So it was a fun comp.
That under 60s woman was really close.
Really close. I think they were all within
3 girls were all
kilos.
jumping in front of each other. It was really, really quite cool.
Yeah. Same with the 82s as well. They I actually gave them a bit of a hand. I think it's Jamie Canton. She ended up winning, and her husband Joe lifted on the same day in the same flight.
Yep, that's right.
But so they didn't really know the intricacies of the changing of attempts at the end of a deadlift flight.
Yeah.
So I just gave them a bit of a hand with that, and it ended up that they won, which was cool.
So on the women's side, I don't know if this is a world first, but we obviously had a 61-year-old woman into the open class and women's class and take that out.
Just open, Christine Henwood.
Christine Henwood.
Awesome. Yeah.
I don't think
total for anyone really, let alone a 61-year-old.
467.5, and obviously world records, and looking at the lifting, there's still plenty left in the tank there to go even higher.
She had a couple of fourths as well. It didn't count towards that total as well. So
yeah. So and I think from memory, Geordie, she's top in the world at the moment, isn't she? In terms of age and weight. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's like I chat to Christine quite often, and I relate to a lot of the challenge that she's got in trying to find competition. So the motivation, I think, for her looking at the open class was really about wanting to put herself amongst some competition that is close to her, because, you know, let's face it, as a master, she's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Shit,
I'd
say she'd have probably the highest age-adjusted Gloss British score in GPC, if not perhaps even across all federations in New Zealand, wouldn't she? Men and women.
So, yeah.
She'd have to be up there. It's just crazy feat at 61 years old to be doing numbers in the gym that most guys couldn't even dream of, you know.
Yeah, 180 squat, 105 kilo bench, and a 185 deadlift. At age 61.
But there's a legacy right there, and how long she's been training. Do you know what I mean? I always say to people, time under bar gives you strength, but also gives you thick muscle as well. And you know, her, just the way she's not an 80% trainer. You know, she gives 100% every session she does. And Alma Porter, who's a trainer, you know, credit to Alma, he's been able to change up quite a bit to be able to branch into powerlifting, because there's a different, you coach people differently for bodybuilding. And as a qualified coach in bodybuilding, I've known Alma for a long time, and he knows his shit. And yeah, I mean, he's doing some things with her and around training that I've kind of looked at. I think at one point they were doing 3 times a day training and stuff like that. And I was really scientific stuff that he measures and looks into. So I think the two of them are a really great combination.
I'd like to see him bring some more athletes along the same sort of lines, you know, and the protocols that he's given to Christine are probably very specific to what Christine can handle.
Exactly.
And, you know, like, how can these apply to other people? And, you know, he's obviously done amazing things with Christine. He's obviously one of the better coaches in New Zealand. Love to see him bring some more athletes through. So,
yeah. And I've spoken to Christine as well about her level of competition and where she needs to take things next. And she knows that, you know, New Zealand's not big enough at this stage for what she's achieved, and, you know, she'll have to seek out some competition internationally, I think.
But tricky at the moment, but
it's unfortunate, but there are women in the Master Women's, even at her age too, who are doing some really great numbers.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think, you know, she definitely brought the international stage to New Zealand in terms of that awareness of what's going on down here. But she needs to take her competition offshore, I think.
So she got 4 world records. Ben got the squat and the
bench, deadlift, and total. Yeah,
so there was 6 world records at nationals then.
Yeah.
So just a question on Sandy Sandu, I think it was. She had national records every lift as well. She's the lightest athlete in the female class. I really was quite impressed by her result.
She under 52s?
Yeah, she came in at 49.5. So 52 kilo class. Yeah.
Nice.
And what was the total? It was
273 and a half kilos.
Yeah, so she's still lifting. Yeah.
Yeah, 92 kilo and a half kilo squat, 52.5 bench, and a 128.5 deadlift.
Yeah, and I've just looked at her setup on bench press, the way she's been coached very well. She knows what she's doing, and I think when you look at some of the big events that I've been to as well, sometimes the lighter lifters don't get much light, but there was some really good deadlifts in that lighter weight grades for both men and women. But she was a standout for me. She's just very composed, knew exactly what she was doing. She hit the calls 100%. It's just fantastic to watch.
Yeah, very focused. I noticed on the platform too, she was all over it. She owned it. We had another great deadlifter in that sort of weight kilo class from the men's side. I'm just trying to look for his results now. Tim Andrews. So he came in. Yep. Yeah, came in.
He did deadlift only. He was very light as well. I remember weighing him in.
Yeah, 54.1 kilos. So he came in at the 56 kilo class, 22-year-old, you know, and lifted 125. Still plenty left in the tank for that, but that's a world record.
He had calcification build-ups all through his body, and he was struggling to move at all, you know, and he went and saw a local physio down here in Hamilton who managed to loosen him up, and within a couple of years he's setting world records. Wow. It's an amazing story. Yeah.
Crazy.
Shout out to that.
It's one of the cool things.
Lee Bristow. Shout out to Lee.
Lee Bristow.
And the team at Tutonu. Yeah, they've done amazing things, and so I'd like to see him continue on that path. He's obviously got a lot left in him. Yeah.
Right, so just finishing off the women's side, we've got Ange Wilkinson, who won the Masters. Yep.
Best overall as well.
Yeah, and the overall women's at 445.
Great lifter, very consistent.
445 kilo total, 170 squat, 95 bench, and a 180 deadlift.
At 70, I think she was 71.
70.
She doesn't even cut. 71. That's her walking round weight.
Is it?
Yeah. You know. So, well, otherwise she stuffed up her cut. But no, she's very consistent. You know, I mean, she won overall last year as well.
But she was in the mix the previous few years as well.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, so she's
been around for a while. Yeah. And she's got a stable of lifters as well, hasn't she? I think
Zoe, very good coach.
Number of lifters. Quite active on the gram. So you look her up.
So she coached her lifters and won.
Yeah.
So I had to put up with you. Sorry, I've actually got a quote from Hamish here. So Hamish Coulter, 2020, probably the best rap and best handout I've ever had.
Oh, best.
Am I wrong?
Handy. No.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Oh, was it? Oh, I'll add that to the quote then.
No, it was. If I could show, I don't know if you can see this.
Oh, he's got some proper rap bruises. Oh, Jesus. Don't do
right.
yourself, mate. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, yeah.
You're a sub-master.
Oh, do you have to, mate? Yeah.
No, okay. Sorry.
For those.
That'll put the ranking viewership up there. No, I've still got a massive bruise that you can't see in the shadows. A week later, it's
wow,
it's an experience to get a Jackson rap. Yeah.
Those brand new Lily Bridges, mate. I absolutely love them.
Yeah.
Absolutely love them. I don't care as well.
Yeah, they don't last long, but you'll get a couple of good squats out of them. And I've never had a rap like that, and that felt good.
How many knees do you rep, Jackson? The past 2 days or last weekend?
A lot. Yeah. A lot.
Do you reckon it takes something out of you?
Oh yeah, I mean, but this is the thing. Like, there's no, you can't use it as an excuse now. But it's what I signed up for. You know.
But it's what it is, though.
But I to me, I say to people, I come off and. I'll come home and say to Tash, I'm like, I hit 7 PBs this morning. She's like, fuck are you talking about? And then it's because I've had, 6 clients and they've all hit brand new PBs on their squat and et cetera, et cetera. And then I hit a PB in my session. And to me, that's, their PBs are just as important as mine. So it's what it's what you sign up for as a coach, really. But I do love a good knee wrap. And if someone says just go, it's all on.
Yeah.
I'll come out of there sweating, pliers ready, fucking heavy breathing, And
obviously, Hamish, it paid off with a 335 squat, yeah?
Oh, less than I squatted. How's that? Fuck.
Well, I missed my third attempt because you wrapped me so tightly. So wasn't used to it. No, I was trying to get down at 355 on the third attempt. I had it for strength for days. There's no way I wasn't going to be able to stand back up if I had hit the hole properly, but I was sort of searching for depth, leaning forward a little bit, and once you've got that much weight sort of shifted forward, there's just no chance. So managed to bomb that, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been 4 years since I've been back on the national platform. A comeback of sorts, you might say, but probably just a one-off. Just had, I'll probably just lurk in the shadows and do the easy regional comps I tend to sort of find myself in. And the novice comps, I just like competing. Nationals deserves a lot of effort, what I've achieved in the past. There's no way I'd get back on the platform and do a 3 lift at Nationals if I wasn't at the same sort of level to challenge Jackson and Ben. Will I ever be back there? Probably not. I just don't have what it takes in terms of time and just a want to. They've sort of shifted the bar so far ahead now. I don't think they're not ever be able to get back there.
Bearing in mind, mate, you're only 38, so you're going to hit Masters in a couple of years.
So I'll start collecting the Masters records like what Geordie and Dale do.
Yeah, well, they won.
No, because Ben's older than me, so I'm fucked.
He is actually. He's 39.
Yeah, I'm screwed.
He's 39, he's 40.
I hit up in the 140s this year. I weighed in at 125.1.
He did too.
I had no idea. I was 130 kilos earlier.
125.1.
A little bit sick.
It doesn't get any better.
Yeah, I was so surprised. And to be fair, I probably could have taken, I've still had a T-shirt and stuff on, so I probably could have waited. But, I was going for records. And I couldn't obviously go for the win because it's a bit shit when you tune up and say, I'm the squat champion, and then there's a guy who's squatted 50 kilos more than you. That would have only been the case if Ben had bombed. And, there was that chance.
What's the verdict when the squat only and bench only guy squats and benches less than two guys?
Hey, I still did what it needed to be done. If I needed to squat more, I would have squatted more. Simple as that.
So actually, going back to episode, I think 1, Hamish, I did beat you on subtotal.
Send me your bank account number.
Oh, how good.
Nice. Yeah, and actually, to finish off the overall champions, we had young Gia. I don't know if you guys looked
again, very technical. Knew what she wanted and went for it.
Yeah, young Gia, 23-year-old, 67 kilo class. She came in at 67.2 actually. 115 on the squat, 80 on the bench, and 151. She went for the record there for the lift for the deadlift.
Nice.
I think she's coached by Yusuf. He actually just won his pro card at the IFBB National.
Yeah, IFBB Classic Pro.
Yeah, I wouldn't stand next to him in a photo.
No, you could if he had his t-shirt on. Yeah. But take his t-shirt. No, don't do
that's
that.
It. Yeah, you're in for a world of trouble.
Now, he actually did the Waikato shows, first sort of time we'd seen him on stage for a while, and he looked amazing. And then he went to nationals and beat our good friend Geordie. So it was a very, very good win, good scalp for him to take. Now he's got his pro card. Obviously, not at the moment. There's not international meets available, but he intends to go and sort of see what he can do. And I think he's got a bit of growing. He's going to do some damage, I think.
Yeah, he's taken a couple of years off. I spoke to him. He's going to take a couple of years off and grow.
Yep.
And then pursue the competition. But great guy, and Gia was a great little athlete. Gracious and hardworking. I see her training at the gym that I go to as well, and nice little crew there. It's good to see. Right, that kind of rounds out the overall winners anyway.
You can't forget old Mad Mike.
We can't forget Mad Mike.
Mad Mike. I mean, come on, that guy. I'm surprised he actually did when I saw him, I was like, "Oh, so you're doing deadlift only, bro?" He's like, "Nah, I'm doing all three." I said,
"He's doing all three."
When's the last time you did a squat? I don't know. But he loves it.
202.5 squat, 135 bench, and a massive 260.
That was a great deadlift too.
It was great. The crowd went nuts. We never actually got Lionel singing in the Navy.
Yeah, did you? Yeah.
So we need to get that on video at some stage.
Yeah.
What was that?
Lionel and him had a bet going on that if he pulled his 260, that Lionel would sing in the Navy.
Well, we need to see that. Oh, well,
and
he's going to have to.
He didn't. So
that's a video. No.
Lionel, you've got to own that, mate.
Got to step up. Got to step up.
But he's a crowd favourite. I think he's the people's champ. He just brings a lot of exuberance to the platform, and he's actually hosting a tequila and deadlift session in a couple of weeks' time down at his gym at Train Station in Te Awamutu. So I'm definitely going to be there for that.
Tequila and deadlifts? Hang on. It's whiskey and deadlifts, bro.
Up here we do tequila and deadlifts. So it's a shot between rounds.
That's absolutely weird, man. You got whiskey in the South Island, tequila in the Waikato, and we always drank vodka after the events up here.
Wait, so Hamish, you can deadlift? That's what you're saying.
Look, I'll just
been doing the 3 lift.
Yeah, I probably could have. I wouldn't have. I would have been 100 kilos off you guys. So, yeah.
Have you guys seen Hamish's Instagram bio now? It says he's 5 times New Zealand champion because he won squat only and bench only, so it counts it as 2. I feel like there's
technically,
something wrong with that picture.
I've won 2 bench only competitions at nationals prior to that too. So that actually means, how much is that? 7.
I've started them off.
7.
Sorry.
You'll see some medals around your neck next time, mate. Next podcast, eh? I think I also want to mention Marina Hariki as well.
Great lifter.
Great lifting.
Yeah,
absolutely. Just trying to find those results there. Yeah, came in at 180.
I think she got 427 and a half.
437 and a half.
437. Sorry, Marina. I took that 10 kilos off you. Sorry.
Yeah, I know she wanted to do more, but she came in at the 2 kilo class, 180 squat, 85 bench at a 172.5. Great lifter.
Very strong. It was between her and Ange in the best master.
Yeah.
I mean, again, she's very consistent. She's been around for a couple of years now at all the GPC nationals I've been to. And very strong.
Strong couple, actually. Nick Reynolds is.
Big dude, man. I hate getting a photo with that guy as well. God damn.
But incredibly strong, and he was another one that reached out to me during my injury because he's gone through, suffered as well. So, but he very impressive lifter. I believe he's potentially, we might see him again, hopefully on the platform. Pretty awesome.
I think he might be doing that the Viking Cup.
Oh, yes, he is. No, I
as
just speak to him. He's doing the Viking Cup.
Yeah, dip his toes back in.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then he's waiting for a hip replacement, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
But
yeah.
once he can load that back up, I think he'll be okay. Maybe equipped.
Mm. Let's just finish on a bit of a shout out because this was his last comp. But Paul Barry squatted 182.5, but he's bowing out. He's up for a hip replacement today. Yeah, was his last comp. Long career. But yeah, shout out to you, Paul, for being a bit of a real trooper. He's been
around for a while.
You've been in the wars.
Battleship, man.
Yep.
Yeah, he's been fighting the battle for a while, but I think he's decided to bow out. But it might be just like a Hamish, it'll bow out just until the next time, mate. And Geordie as well. Yeah, just retiring until the right comes along. Yeah.
Yeah. The actually, I had one of the girls from down here. I've got a good story for this as well. This is you'll enjoy this. So Sue Ellen, I don't know if you guys met Sue Ellen.
Yeah, the Barocca lady.
Yeah, so yeah, she works with Bayer. So she's like literally like a kid that you've given too much candy on Halloween.
Yeah.
She just bounces off the walls, any situation, she's good. It was her 1 year powerlifting anniversary, literally on the day that she competed.
Beautiful.
Wow.
So 2019, she first came to our little powerlifting class that we run on the 24th of October. And then now at comp, she squatted 140. Before this, she'd never lifted a weight in her life. This was her first time in the gym. She squatted 140, benched 70, and deadlifted 170.
Wow.
Awesome. I think she's Masters 2. But so total 380 within a year of power. You know, when people are always like, "Oh, I don't want to do powerlifting. I'm not strong enough." What you can do in a year that's ridiculous.
Yeah, just goes to show that, you know, powerlifting's for everyone, really. Eh? Anyone can jump in.
100%. But yeah, so to go with her, so when Jono announced it on the as the MC, and he called her Sue Ellen the Crusher. So
Where'd they come from?
So we came up in sort of a group. You know, I hired a car and one of the other guys hired a car, but we mostly had 2 vans. And so they're the big Hertz vans. You know, they're like, I don't know what they are, like 2.5 meters tall or whatever, close to 3 meters tall. So she's driving along. We get to our hotel in Takapuna. She gets the parking permit, goes to the underground car park, and there's no height restriction notice. And she gets in and she clears. Obviously, she just, you know, she's distracted. She's talking to someone or whatever, and she doesn't really think about it. There's no notice, so you know, you don't even think about it. And she wedges the car in under one of the support beams. So and everyone that's in the van's just like, what just happened? They just hear this across the roof, and she's wedged the van in between, obviously, the ground and one of the support beams.
Oh, so then
she's got to back it out. So it happens again on the way out.
Oh no! So there goes your deposit, eh?
So she paid for the non-excess insurance or whatever. So she paid enough for the no excess insurance, which was lucky. But then she's one of these sorts of people. She just loves sorting shit. So she gets on the horn to the Auckland City Council and says to them about the hotel. And she says, right, so what's the minimum height that you need to have a height restriction notice? And they're like, you know, if it's 2.4 or less, you have to have a height. I don't know the specifics, but whatever it was, you have to have a height restriction notice. And so the hotel didn't. So it's actually the hotel's liability.
Cool.
There you go,
so she got him. Man, this is the thing. She's just one of those people. She just sorts shit out. She was basically like our trip mum.
Yeah. I would have just left today. Yeah. I would have jumped out the van and done a runner.
Yeah. But yeah, so now she's changed her Instagram handle to the Crusher.
The Crusher, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Great story.
Good times.
Awesome, guys.
Trips.
Well, let's wrap things up, guys, because it's been an hour and a half, so that's a good episode. Just a real quick shout out to Lionel at Chaos for sponsoring the event. Mike and the team, I can't quite remember the guy's name, but committed AF.
You can say it, Greg. It's all right.
You can say it, Greg. We've sworn enough on here. This is exactly PG.
Yeah, committed as fuck. So big shout out to committed as fuck. Chaos and Loaded as well to give us a hand. And Sue Ellen, I know she doesn't want a shout out, but thanks for the Barocca. I think most of them with Barocca made it to the competition. I might have had one or two, but other than that, yeah, good catching up. Good to get Geordie on the line. Thanks for sharing all your stories, and we'll catch up next time, mate, with a new guest in a week or two. So awesome.
Cool.
See you guys.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
guys.
shot team.
See you later.